1460 WVOX.
Now, live from Whitney Media, 1460 WVOX, the Greenburgh Report, with Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner. You can join in the conversation at 914-636-0110. Now on 1460 WVOX, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Hi, I'm Paul Feiner. I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and I've been doing this show for over 25 years every Friday. And this program today is probably going to be the most popular program I've ever done, because we're not talking about politics, we're not talking about inflation, we're not talking about the problems of the world. We're going to be talking about ice cream. And my guest is Sledge, who owns Penny Lick Ice Cream at 580 Warburton in Hastings. And this is not an exaggeration, but Cherry Bomb magazine said it's one of the most loved female-fueled ice cream shops in the United States. Westchester Magazine named her ice cream store as one of the best in Westchester. They also did a story saying there's 8 places you should be eating ice cream at right now, and I could go on and on. I do a lot of bicycling, and every time I'm in Hastings biking and my throat is all dry, I go there, and I love the sorbets. So thank you, Ellen, for joining us, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and why you went into this business.
Well, thanks for having me, and thank you for your patience with me. I know we were supposed to meet a few months ago, and I had a family emergency, and I'm really grateful for the patience. So yes, I am a Hastings on Hudson resident. That makes the commute really very easy. I've lived in Hastings since 2008. That's where I'm raising my 3 children. And as an ice cream background, I am a pastry chef by training. I worked in some really great New York City restaurants, the kind of restaurants where if there's a scoop or a canal of ice cream on the plate, somebody made that in-house that morning or the night before, usually the youngest person on the staff, because you have to pull extra hours to make the ice creams work in a hot commercial kitchen. So I worked in restaurants. I actually was the catering manager for Princeton University for a while, which is where I got management credentials and some project management skills and costing skills. And then I took a little time off because I had children. And I decided that I would go back to work in some capacity when my youngest turned 5. And instead I did it when my youngest turned 2. I decided I wanted to start a small business, and that I would draw on my pastry skills, but that I wouldn't be the Amazon of desserts. I would do one thing and do it well, and I chose ice cream.
It's like amazing because you're located in Hastings, and I read all your Facebook posts. I think you have the best marketing of any business in the county.
I'm very flattered. I think it's easier to market ice cream than it is to market other things. I think with ice cream, it's a little bit shooting fish in the barrel. But I think certainly when it comes to marketing, for something in hospitality or food and beverage, you have to make customer service number one. You have to explain to the customer in various social media forums that they are valued.
It's difficult to own a small business on a main street. It probably would be easier to be, say, on a mall or whatever. We have to take a break, but after the break, maybe you could talk about why your business on Warburton Avenue in Hastings is so successful.
Thanks, I will.
Yeah, I would just be curious. I'm Paul Feiner, Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and today, if it's hot and you're desiring delicious ice cream, you should definitely go to Penny Lick, ice cream at 580 Warburton Avenue. I have never heard anyone complain about the ice cream, and Hastings is known to have a lot of activists, so people are always looking to complain about anything.
1460 WVOX.
Now back to the Greenburgh Report on 1460 WVOX Once again, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Paul Feiner, I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and I was thinking that if you're in a down mood now and you're a little dejected that you're home rather than on vacation, why don't you go to Hastings this afternoon and stop off, and you could enjoy the Palisades, the beautiful Hudson River, and on your way, stop off at 580 Warburton Avenue and treat yourself to ice cream at Penny Lick Ice Cream. And I could guarantee you that you're going to be smiling and you're going to be contented, and you're going to probably tell your friends about it. And I just want to, and I don't get a commission from this or even a reduced rate on an ice cream. But I just want to ask Ellen Sledge, who owns Penny Lick Ice Cream, how you chose Hastings as your location, because Warburton Avenue, it doesn't have hundreds of thousands of people.
No, you're right. You're right. Sometimes when you're thinking about where to locate a business, well, all the times you think about foot traffic and vehicle traffic. How many people will see your shingle and want to stop by? And Hastings on Hudson is a postage stamp of a downtown, but a beautiful one and a diverse one, and really both the village and the trustees and the community at large are incredibly supportive of the small business community. I happen to live in Hastings. I thought it was a great first start. We have some wonderful dining options. We have a small but very engaged community, and we do attract a lot of people from other towns who want to come and sit and eat and enjoy the views and enjoy the arts and the culture that our village has to offer. I'm proud that we are the kind of small business that hangs a shingle on your local main street. And that is how we intend to grow. We will be growing. We'll be in Mamaroneck in spring of next year. It's always been meaningful to me as a small business owner and as having family members who, from when I was a kid, had small businesses or engaged in the small business community, to be one of the people that slaps the name of their business on the back of the Little League shirts, to be a board member of the local Chamber of Commerce, to join the local Rotary, to roll up your sleeves and to participate in the community in meaningful ways, of course, while making ice cream at a profit.
That is great. How did you get the name Penny Lick Ice Cream? So
Penny Lick is actually a historical term. I'm a bit of a food nerd when it comes to food history, and 100+ years ago, before ice cream cones were invented, and back when ice cream only cost a penny, you would get it in a glass and you would lick it out of the glass, and it was kind of a slang term. People, instead of saying, "Do you want to go get an ice cream?" they'd say, "Do you want to go get a penny lick?" It was not a term that anybody owned, and it was certainly a term that fell out of favor for a variety of reasons. I'm sure inflation had something to do with it. Nothing is a penny. And so I really, really liked the name and grabbed it. When I started my business, I started with push carts. And I didn't have a store. I didn't have the money for it. And I wasn't certain that my business was going to be good enough to have its own storefront, much less multiple. And so I thought that penny licks were sold not out of storefronts usually, but out of push carts. So I thought it was a nice historical nod to the past.
And how many flavors do you have?
So we will run in the store 18 to 20 flavors at any given time. We offer more than that on the wholesale side. We do custom flavors as well on the wholesale side. We have probably about 65, 70 in our repertoire. What we offer in the store currently usually has everything to do with seasonality, though certainly for the last 2 years, it's also had a lot to do with what's available thanks to supply chain issues, what ingredients we can afford thanks to inflation spikes, and again, caused sometimes by supply chain issues. So we really depends, but it's usually 18 to 20.
And do you change do you have niche special flavors?
There are things that never leave the menu. we can't, vanilla can never leave the menu. And that was hard for a year or two there, because I don't know if you knew this, but certainly well before COVID, there was a global vanilla shortage, and vanilla was hard to source, and the prices had spiked in a way that I couldn't take vanilla off the menu. So I had to make cheaper flavors to subsidize the cost of a scoop of vanilla to throw on the menu. But there are certainly ones that we always have. Maple salted caramel is always on the menu, and that was one of our first and still one of our best sellers. Our mocha is extremely popular. And then during season specials, during fruit growing season, we have strawberry, blueberry jam, we have peach sorbet, raspberry chip. Those things are certainly not available in January. Fall is coming. I'm not a big pumpkin spice person, but we do have a drunken pumpkin ice cream that will roll onto the menu soon. It's a pumpkin custard ice cream with some booze in it.
Oh, wow. Do you ever have like political ice cream? Like do you make statements and have special flavors?
Political statements, no, because sometimes when I think about it, I think that although everybody loves ice cream, more often than not, our demographic is children, and the message will go right the heck over their heads.
I could sort of understand that. And you also have options for people who are vegetarian, vegan?
Vegan, certainly. So we are a peanut, tree nut, and sesame-free ice cream. That makes us a little bit of a unicorn in the industry, but what it means is people the 32 plus million Americans who are definitely allergic to those three, can eat safely in our shop. What it means also is that we're limited on plant bases, but we do fruit sorbets and coconut-based sorbets.
That's great. We have to take another break, and after the break, I want to talk a little bit about the supply issues as well, if that's the problem right now. Good. I'm Paul Feiner, and my guest is Ellen Sledge, who owns Penny Lick Ice Cream, 580 Warburton, Hastings on Hudson, and I asked her to be on the program because I'm so impressed with the quality of the ice cream and sorbets, and also with her marketing. She's really a model for how a small business should be run, I think. I'm Paul Feiner, Greenburgh Town Supervisor.
Now back to the Greenburgh Report on 1460 WVOX. Once again, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Hi, I'm Paul Feiner, Greenburgh Town Supervisor, interviewing Ellen Sledge of Penny Lick Ice Cream, 580 Warburton Avenue in Hastings. And I was going to ask you about the supply issues, because a lot of businesses are struggling right now because it's difficult to get supplies. Has your business recently experienced that, or are they currently experiencing problems?
I don't know a small business that hasn't experienced supply issues over the last couple of years. I'm waiting for parts for a freezer in my factory. I'm waiting for parts for a freezer in my ice cream shop. We have run over the last 2 years into supply issues that run the gamut from something as simple as a spoon to more concrete things like cream. Cream has been repeatedly in short supply over the last year and a half. I am a dairy processor with New York State, so I actually am on the regular calls with the New York State dairy processors, and a lot of it has to do not with cows producing milk in New York State. New York State's one of the biggest dairy farming states in the country, but it has to do with having truck drivers to drive it, having trucks available. In the last year, our push carts have repeatedly replaced food trucks that have needed to cancel events because their trucks broke down and they couldn't get parts to fix the trucks. We have had to table flavors because we either can't get the ingredients, or we can, but half of what we need at 5 times the price. I have become a full-time shopper for my business, for all aspects of my business. it has been very hard. I do not know anybody that it has been easy for. I obviously have a lot of friends and colleagues in food and hospitality, but I also have a lot of friends and colleagues in IT and in clothing. And we are all running into supply issues. I have a very good friend who is on Rivertown's Rotary with me. His company makes tombstones. There's a granite shortage. There was a granite shortage for a long time because most granite in the world is mined in India, and India had a catastrophic 2021. And so he's had a tough time. I know people who have lost loved ones who have waited a year and a half for grave markers. That's a small business too. We are all small businesses. So when you think about all the things that go into putting together even a plan for a small business and then trying to build it, then trying to grow it, and then you can't get the supplies you need, or you can, but the prices are really high. On our end, we haven't just seen a steady increase due to inflation, but we've seen price spikes, like a zigzag chart, all due to supply instability.
And that could be for some businesses life and death, because
for so many businesses, life and death. The average small business in the United States, at least certainly before COVID, had only 4 weeks cash on hand. That is a nationwide statistic. And I learned that from my consultants at the Acceleration Project, which is a great Westchester County-based nonprofit organization that helps small businesses with discounted or free consulting to help them get off the ground and how to keep them in business. 4 weeks cash on hand during a pandemic, during supply instability, during inflation spikes, you can't pay your rents.
So it's really remarkable that your business was able not only to survive, but now you're expanding right during the pandemic,
yeah,
or after the pandemic.
I would say that the expansion is part of a pivot. We were trying to push, and I mean right before COVID started, we were trying to push a more wholesale forward model, and wholesale is difficult to do, especially with the margins as they currently are, and supply instability. So we are pushing. We're continuing wholesale, but we're pushing more retail forward, and so we'll have a second store next year. I'm considering a couple more locations. They would be an expansion into the Hudson Valley. If we do it, depends. The numbers have to work.
Does the state give grants out to small businesses that are starting? Are there like funds that you
There are a ton of resources available. If you're going to start a small business, the first thing that you should do is find your local small business administration office and introduce yourself and ask what resources are available. You have to, small business owners really, really have to advocate for themselves. The next thing you should do is find your local CDFI. That is a nonprofit bank. Here in the lower Hudson Valley, we have Community Capital in New York. They helped me secure Empire State loans as well as SBA loans to build and expand my business. They helped me secure grants. During the pandemic, they helped me secure a grant for 1 month of rent. That was actually a gift from Sandy Woolman, who's the CEO of Westchester Angels. And they've helped me secure other small grants as well. They're the CDFIs, the local SBA offices, they know where the money is. And obviously, they want to support small businesses because small businesses are the growth engine for employment in the community. Amazons and Walmarts of the world, they're not the biggest employers in the United States. It's the collective small business community of the United States. So if we go under, if we really struggle, unemployment goes through the roof. And we certainly did see that during 2020 and 2021. I'm glad that job numbers are growing, probably not fast enough. But yes, you should meet your local SBA. You should meet your local CDFI. Talk to your town mayors, talk to your town supervisors, call your county administrators. People, you don't know until you ask, and everyone wants to help.
there's like delicatessens, there's convenience stores in Hastings that sell the packaged, ice creams, the inexpensive ones. Is that sort of competition? When you were looking and there's a couple stores that are near your store.
Ice cream is everywhere. Not all of it is necessarily what ranks in my top 3 as competition, but it's there. Ice cream is everywhere. So what you need is a hook. You need a reason why you would want to go to Pennylick and not the supermarket or the bodega or the froyo place. Certainly as an allergen-friendly ice cream place with a clean ingredients list, we fit a lot. We check off a lot of boxes for people. People love our ice cream flavors. People travel to us. We're a bit of a destination that has taken a lot of marketing and a lot of hustling and a lot of effort and a lot of putting spoons in mouths and asking people if they like it. It's a collaborative effort. But yeah, what you need to do is not just when you're planning out your business, think about what would your competitors be, but what makes you better than your competitors. It can't just be it tastes good.
And in terms of like the marketing, when you opened up, how long did it take until you started making like a profit?
So the first couple of years were lean. Certainly so the business started in 2013 and it was push carts, and that was profitable. It was easy to turn a profit on. And 2015, we had the build out of the store. It ran a couple months longer than expected because nothing is ever on time when you're building something out. And we wound up opening in September. But we had laid out kind of the groundwork for the fact that we were going to open a store. People asked us all the time, wherever our carts were, when are you going to open a store? When are you going to open a store? We hired a friend of mine who is a very well-known children's magician. He travels the world. He used to open for David Blaine, and he did a free show for Hastings on Hudson to open up our ice cream shop instead of us doing a ribbon cutting. And we had lines for blocks. It was fantastic. But we didn't open the shop until we had grown a customer base sufficiently enough to tap into, that people would actually want to come to it. And I think that was successful. So 2015, certainly we weren't open a full year. That's not a profitable thing. 2016 wasn't profitable. 2017 was break even. 2018 was a little profitable. 2019 was much more profitable. And then COVID.
Right. So people have to be patient.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think the average to expect profitability in a food-based small business is approximately, I think it's 5 years. Don't quote me on it, but I think it's 5 years. But keep in mind, food businesses, they go under it. That statistic is really true. 90% go under in 12 months.
Yeah, and it's sad because there's a restaurant in Hartsdale, Unico, and it was actually the most.
Loved them.
It was great, and they went under. But I think their problem was their location. I think that
the location wasn't great, but I didn't mind parking there to get that food.
Yeah,
it's hard. There's an awful lot of factors that go into the profitability of a small business.
Right. So we have to take one final break, and then we'll be back with Ellen Sledge, Pennylick Ice Cream, 580 Warburton Avenue in Hastings. And if you're thinking of starting a business, you should at least take a look at her business, because it could be a model for how you should run a new business or start a new business. I'm Paul Feiner, Greenburgh Town Supervisor.
WVOX.
Now back to the Greenburgh Report on 1460 WVOX. Once again, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Hi, I'm Paul Feiner. I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor. My guest is Ellen Sledge. Penny Lick Ice Cream, and they're located at 580 Warburton Avenue in Hastings. And during the break, I wanted to know a little bit about her wholesale business. Are you able to? Are people able to purchase containers of your ice cream at supermarkets or at delis or?
We do actually work with a handful of locations in the Hudson Valley, and we sell wholesale everything from mini cups, which you can get at venues or at restaurants. A local one is Hudson Social in Dobbs Ferry. We sell pints of ice cream, and you can find those on store shelves, sometimes in Jordanes and Irvington, at Fable Farm to Table Farm Market. And we sell a ton of pints. And then, of course, we sell tubs of ice cream for scooping. There's an awful lot of restaurants in Westchester County that have our ice cream on their dessert menus. We sell larger tubs to other ice cream stores. We're all the way up as far as Beacon and in Warwick. We're kind of all over the place.
You were mentioning the difficulties of selling your containers of ice cream which are based at supermarkets.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Think about supermarkets and think about how much shelf space they have and how much storage space they have for something like potato chips or boxes of dried pasta. And then think about how much storage space they have for frozen food. The frozen food section is so much smaller, and they do not have backup freezers. Those freezers are incredibly expensive to run and maintain. So they have limited shelf space. What that means is that larger chains and supermarkets will charge often what they call a shelf stocking fee. You're essentially renting the space. So they pay you your wholesale bill. And these days, I've heard that they pay as late as 180 days, which is not something a small business can sustain. And then they send you a bill to pay to just be on the shelf. And then, of course, in the wholesale business, when you're working with things like supermarkets, you have something called quarterly promotions. That means that your product goes on sale, planned, every quarter. And so say you bought that pint of ice cream and it was $5 down from $7. The supermarket doesn't eat that discount. They send you a bill for the $2 difference for every pint. And what that means is, especially in an industry like mine, dairy, where the prices are high, getting higher on wholesale dairy, the margins are wafer thin. You would have to do huge volume. You'd have to be a Nestle or a Unilever to make that work, and they don't always make that work. So sometimes the type of business sounds sexy and a great idea, but when you crunch the numbers, it really doesn't fit.
You have like a very impressive background working in the food industry. I'm just curious because you seem to really know a lot about this whole field in marketing. What college did you go to?
Well, I actually went to Rutgers University, and I have a degree in journalism and political science, which I'm clearly using. I went to college, but I wanted to go to culinary school, and my dad said, after college, go to culinary school. And so I did. I went to college. I took a job as an editorial assistant. You know, as you do, I worked in editorial departments, and I saved up money, and then I just one day said, okay, culinary school now. Culinary school is expensive and hard, and then you're trading it in for not a 9-to-5 job, but a job that pays not incredibly well per hour. A million years ago, when I was working in restaurants, there were no benefits, and you could often wind up being paid less than minimum wage if they were paying you shift pay and not hourly pay. It's a rough industry to grow into. You have to love it.
What advice would you give to a young person who is just out of college and may want to open up a business? What recommendations would you
Regardless of the business, do your homework, do your homework, do your homework. I think that if you want to open a restaurant, you should make friends with people who are restaurateurs and get a really good sense of it. You should tune into advocacy organizations like the National Restaurant Association, or here in Westchester County, I'm a proud board member of the Restaurant Alliance of Westchester. You can get a good sense from members there, from board members there, of what you need to do to plan this out and what challenges are facing you. It's one thing to get like a degree in business or a master's degree in business. It's quite another to have the practical experience of owning and running one.
So sometimes people should start and just learn every aspect of the business, even if it's a menial job initially.
Yeah. You should know everything. You should know, if you're going to open a restaurant, you should know how to do every single job.
Right, and you should also be able to overcome some of the obstacles and setbacks like you did with the supply problems.
Yeah, I mean, listen, sometimes you're not going to overcome them, and businesses go under, and all the famous, most successful entrepreneurs, they have failures in their background. You learn from failure. You just need to make sure that you can pay your bills.
Right, these are difficult times for people, and people are all stressed, but I think when people go to an ice cream store, they're happier. Do you have sort of same problems, say, people in government have, where people will sometimes yell at you? And, how do you deal with customer issues?
Well, I worked in retail in college to help pay the bills of college, and I also was a bartender at night, and I learned very quickly how not to say no to a customer. The customer is always right, even if they're wrong. I would say in the last couple of years, that dynamic has shifted quite a bit from a complaintative customer to people who are abusive for the sport of it. On food and beverage, there are an awful lot of people who are getting fake reviews, people who are writing fake one-star reviews, and then sending the restaurants like a note saying, we'll pull them and we'll stop for a $200 gift card.
Oh, wow.
And that's happening. I know many restaurateurs in Manhattan, in Westchester County, that's happening to. And you have to also not just find a way to placate and soothe the customer, but to make your employees feel valued in that situation. And my employees have had things thrown at them in the last few years. It never has anything to do with the ice cream. Somebody has come in very upset and keyed up about something else. We live in a world where everybody's keyed up right now. There's a lot of stress on us. It's a little easier than an ice cream shop than it might be in other businesses because we are giving joy. It's ice cream. What I always tell my staff is that it's ice cream and people will come in happy. And if they don't come in happy, you're selling them ice cream and soon they'll be happy. And if they're still not happy, you can treat them to the ice cream for free. It is in your power to do that, and then they will be happy. It is ice cream, and don't take the stress of it home with you at night. It's a very strange dynamic. I don't know any small business owner, particularly any small business owner in food and beverage or in hospitality in general, that has not had really strange, demoralizing experiences over the last couple of years. But it might be easier when it's ice cream because I can give them ice cream.
That's great. And the last question, we only have a couple seconds left, is you also have birthday parties, right?
Yeah, we do birthday parties in the store where we teach the kids how to make ice cream from scratch. We have carts, tons of them, that do birthday parties, weddings, bar mitzvahs. You name it, anywhere you'll have us, we will bring our cart and serve you ice cream. Oh,
that's great. So I really appreciate the fact that you took the time to be a guest on this program. I definitely learned a lot, and I want to congratulate you on doing a fantastic job of offering residents great ice cream and being part of the business community in Hastings and the whole Rivertown's community. Thank you, and good luck with Mamaroneck.
Thank you so much.
I'm Paul Feiner, Greenburgh Town Supervisor. I'll speak to everybody next week.